Welcome back to the Message Marketing Pod. I'm your host, Christopher Melotti from Melotti Media, and this is episode 106, the commercial criticalness of building a complete brand. Now, this episode, you're in for a treat, and the reason why is simple. All businesses need a great brand in order to stand out and be relevant to your customers. And often businesses of all different sizes, we've got companies and startups and multinational conglomerates, all have the same questions, which is, what do I do with my brand and how do I use it? Do I need more than a logo? Do I need to have the complete suite? Do I need to let my customers interpret it or not? All of these are great questions that I'm going to answer today. So let's get straight into it. Brands, they're everywhere today. Colors, logos, fonts, and messages. They trigger emotions and provoke a response from us as we navigate our lives and make relevant product or service choices. But what's in a brand? Or more importantly, do you need to develop a full brand for your business? So let's answer that. This is what I hear all the time. Just a logo will do. Nope. Okay? So many businesses say this, and I understand where they're coming from. However, it's wrong. A brand is so much more than a logo. So don't think that logo and brand are interchangeable. They're not. A brand is a full umbrella term of things, whereas a logo is one element of a brand. Okay, and it's not just me saying that, it's your customers. Every single touch point, experience, and interaction all influence how an audience interprets your brand. So for example, if your actions are bold, then you're seen as bold. If your team are rude, then you're labeled as rude. This is literally why it's so essential to establish and build your brand on your terms first, and therefore build a brand guidelines that your team and you all agree to and implement. That's because without a deliberate brand, you end up with an accidental brand. See, if you don't put any effort into solidifying your entire brand suite so that you're communicating consistency and clear intention with your customers, then you're leaving it completely up to them to interpret, and they will. And who knows what they'll come up with. And so that is why you need to have a brand that is consistent. For example, let's two opposite poles, right? Let's say a legal firm or an accounting firm. Now, you've got one accounting firm that only has developed a logo, right? They use this logo and then they guess through the rest of it. So their website is a guess, their content is random thoughts and ideas. When you call them, the phone manner is all inconsistent. They don't have a clear way of talking. They don't have anything unique about them. And so as a result, their clients and customers can easily and will easily dismiss them or overlook them because they're getting lost. Okay, they're vanilla, they're getting stuck in the monotonous, and therefore clients can't find a relation point with them. They're easily forgettable because what happens is nothing stands out, nothing's distinct, and so therefore they get overlooked for other competitors. Now let's look at the other side of the spectrum. Let's say the other legal firm or accounting firm or whatever business we're talking about here. They've now built a full brand guidelines. They've got colors and logos and core messaging and values and tone of voice and vision and mission and how they want their brand to sound and stand out. Now, every customer that comes to that website or calls or interacts with their social media or reads a blog or article, now it's all consistent. They understand what this brand is all about and that it's unmistakable. They can remember them because they stand out. There's a clear distinction. So when they're trying to make that final decision of which choice to make, which brand, they don't get overlooked because they can clearly identify that was that brand with the orange color, or this was the one that used big exclamation marks or was bold or exciting. So that's really important. That brand gets remembered. So it makes a big impression. And if you were to ask clients to describe that brand, they would be able to recall a lot from their memories as their experiences were clear. So that is because all of their touch points were aligned in a deliberate way by building out the entire brand. So it's this kind of branding that makes your business relevant in your target audience's mind. And that's the difference between a non-brand and a full brand. So let me ask you, where does your business sit between those examples above? Has your team spent the time formulating how you want to be perceived? Or are you leaving it up to your audience to piece together all these different fragments of unintentional touch points so that everyone gains a different idea? When no one can comprehend your brand's position and definition, then you may as well be invisible. And that's the risk of not developing all aspects of your brand. So if you've just got a logo, then you're leaving the rest to chance. And And that's the reality today. If you're not leading your brand's conversation and sending out a consistent signal to your audience, it's just so easy to forget you in the competitive landscape of today. It's also easy for even the slightest glitch to make up a big part of your brand's image in your customers' minds. For instance, if you don't set up, say, a prestigious look or feel with the right photos, colors, fonts, and tone of voice, then you probably won't get that image in your customers' minds. Worse, once your customers aren't given the right intentional signals from your brand, it sticks. And then it's often too late without having to do a complete brand overhaul. So that's what you really need to do, is think about what you want your brand to stand for, and then what elements of your brand have you put together in a deliberate and consistent way that your team and you have agreed to that enables customers to experience these things and to see it. So, are you proud of what your brand is saying to the people who matter? I always say that to people, do the colors and the fonts and the way that your website looks and the way that your brand and your products and all of those trigger points, interaction points, do they send a consistent signal that can be remembered? Or is it just an element of mixtures that you just guessed your way through and therefore there's no consistency? If there's no consistency, as I said, your brand will be seen as invisible. So this is a follow-up question that I often get. Shouldn't I let my brand speak for itself? Absolutely. But there's a difference, you see. Speaking for itself works best when you've done all of the pre-work of establishing your brand's direction first. Then, all of that orchestrated consistency allows customers, clients, and the community to build a definite impression. For example, if your marketing has a consistent tone, tagline, color palette, and pricing approach, then people pull all of these signals together to come to the conclusion that you want from the foundation that you've put together. However, if you let your brand evolve in uncontrolled ways, then it ends up becoming a mixed bag of elements that's out of your control. If that brand is then left to speak for itself, you've got either something that can't be remembered or worse, something that you never intended. Think of all the major brands, for example, Apple, Disney, Coca-Cola, Mercedes-Benz, Google, O'Brien Glass, IBM, Cadbury's, Marvel, the list goes on. What comes to mind with each? Okay, do you think their reputations were gained by accident, or did they take control of their own narratives so that you could gain a strong understanding of where they wanted you to think and position their brand in your mind? Of course they did. Okay, so I've even worked with a lot of these big brands, and they've all given me a brand briefing of what they do and don't do before we even start working together. And that's because there's a deliberate nature in the way that they do their brands, and that is what works even at small levels. So don't think, oh, but my brand's only small. It doesn't matter. Even if you're a one-person band or you're a multi-teamed company, if you don't pull together your entire brand and make it consistent across all of the elements that you do, then you're going to have a brand that's lost control. Now, naturally, every person develops subjective variance in their mind, but when I say that, it's still like exceedingly rare for someone to think that, say, Apple is the same as Dell or that Ferrari is the same as Toyota. And so that's what it is of course there's a level of interpretation from your customers, but if you provide them with all the right prompts that are from a consistent, say, document or guidelines, then chances are they're going to get the signal in a way that you want. And that's what a complete brand does. A complete brand allows you to position it how you intend to. That's essentially the power of a strong and well-conceived brand. It gives you control over your brand's direction and identity, so you can present the right positioning to your target audience to be successful. So when you invest the time and resources into a full brand guidelines, which includes the list I'm going to share with you in a second, then you can have true control over the distinction in the marketplace. So these are the things that your brand must have, okay? So you need to have core messaging. You need hero statements, elevator pitches, logos, color palettes, fonts, picture style, personality, tone of voice, vision, mission, purpose, communication style, and approach to your audience segments. Okay, so that's everything. So it's not just the logo, it's colors, fonts, messaging, and so on. When you have all of that, it can really help. So for instance, with our multimedia brand, I really like this system of putting together, and you can use this as well. So write this down. What's our belief? What's our culture? What's our tribe? What's our feeling? And what's our voice? When you put together all of those pieces and you write them down, that should reflect in the way that your brand naturally is and that you want to communicate. And then you can build your colors and fonts off that. So for example, at Melotti Media, our belief is enabling better marketing communication. Our culture is our unending passion and enthusiasm. Our tribe is forward-thinking brands and businesses. Our feeling is invoking a sparkling inspiration that we can see in our clients' eyes. And our voice is energetic vigor. So how would you define those 4 things? Have you taken the time to do it? See, all of those brand elements are important. Now, you might be thinking, oh, Chris, what does color matter? Or how does a font make a difference? Well, a lot. You see, every minor detail makes a big impression on your customers, especially when they're paired all together. So test your friends out and ask them to identify a brand by its color or the shape of its logo or a tagline. The brands they associate with will be clear in their minds. Have you seen those mini quizzes on social media where it says like, what brand is this? And they show you, say, that red ribbon. Then you immediately go Coca-Cola. Now, sure, your brand might not be as well established or big or instantly recognizable as some of those, soft drink giants, but they all started at the same point that you're at now. So the reality is this, and the point of this podcast is this: take control of your brand, or else if you don't, then you're giving people space to forget or misinterpret you. You're setting people up to misunderstand or overlook or even substitute your brand for another. You're also not giving your team members the opportunity to align their work style with your brand's direction. You see, without a central brand guidelines that details the collective direction for everyone, then they can't act in a way that then makes a consistent impression on your customers and audiences too. So this is the question. Ask yourself, can you afford to let your brand be vague without any intentional substance? No business can. So, how do you complete your brand? Well, that's where marketing companies like Melotti Media can help you. So there's many that we work with as well that help build brands. Like we've got a company that we work with called Font and Swatch that does all of the visual elements. And then at Melotti Media, we do all the written elements. So that's where one of our major services that we do is a core messaging development service or a core brand messaging development service. And what we do in that exercise is we get together with you and we interview you and we do a bit of research and we find out all the elements that you want your brand to sound like and be. And then we put it together and articulate it into a single document that then you can add to your visual brand guidelines. And that way you have a complete brand that you can use. So that's what we do at Melotti Media. So if you want a complete brand, contact us now. You can visit our website at melottimedia.com.au or email us at enquire, so that's enquire@melottimedia.com.au, or you can call us. We've got a phone number as well, which is 1-800-M-MEDIA. And so we will help you make your brand relevant with a complete brand. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope that answered some of your branding questions in terms of your business and where you're headed. Just remember, the main message of this is you need a complete brand and you need to be intentional. Otherwise, your customers won't understand what you're doing and what you stand for, and therefore you blend into the background of everything else. Okay, so contact us today. Thank you for listening. And my name is Chris from Melotti Media, and I look forward to sharing more time with you in the next episode. Thanks.